Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we delve into the poignant narrative of Maid by Stephanie Land. First published in 2019, this memoir is not just a tale of hardship and survival. It encapsulates the grit and determination of a single mother navigating the undulating terrain of poverty in contemporary America. With unflinching honesty, Stephanie recounts her days juggling the demanding role of a maid while striving to provide for her daughter, revealing the stark realities of a menial job amidst the pursuit of a better life. Stephanie Land's journey from the throes of an abusive relationship to the halls of literary acclaim is nothing short of inspirational. Her bylines grace the pages of esteemed publications such as the New York Times, the New York Review of Books, the Washington Post, the Guardian, the Nation, and Vox. In her partnership with the renowned author Barbara Ehrenreich, Stephanie's voice has become a beacon, illuminating the oft-overlooked struggles of the working poor through the Economic Hardship Reporting Project. Maid is an essential read for anyone looking to understand the true face of poverty in the United States. It offers professionals a window into the lives of those caught in the cycle of low-wage labor, and it serves as a startling narrative of resilience for anyone seeking stories of triumphant human spirit against the odds. Join us as we explore this testament to the power of hope and perseverance, and witness how one woman's story lays bare the systemic challenges and personal triumphs in the fight against economic inequality. Maid, hard work, low pay, and a mother's will to survive. Introduction: Navigating the twists and turns of low-income parenthood. Picture this. You have a young child, a mop, a bucket, and dozens of houses to clean. This isn't a setup for a Cinderella story, but a raw, unvarnished glimpse into the life of Stephanie Land during her years as a maid, a single mother making ends meet on less than $1,000 a month. This memoir isn't just a personal confessional, it's a mirror reflecting the struggles of countless Americans juggling parenthood, poverty, and underpaid labor while yearning for a better life. Step into Stephanie's shoes, and you'll experience the day-to-day pressures of someone at the coalface of the American dream, where the dream feels more like a constant waking struggle. Against the odds, single parents like Stephanie navigate a maze of menial tasks, seeking not just to survive, but to provide comfort and stability amid the chaos of financial instability. This story is also a deep dive into the socio-economic fabric of the United States, a country where the safety nets for the impoverished are far from fail-safe. Through Stephanie's eyes, we explore the layers of poverty that extend beyond mere lack of funds, trenching into the psychological impact and social stigmas attached to this state of existence. And then there's assistance, or the labyrinth one must brave to receive it. Stephanie's narrative sheds light on the paradox of government aid, a blessing to many, yet also a source of endless scrutiny and judgment. It's a system that simultaneously offers a lifeline and imposes limitations, setting the stage for a nuanced debate on what it means to be assisted and the sense of agency it provides or strips away. As you listen, you'll traverse the thin line that many walk between desperation and determination, learning that the robust perseverance of individuals like Stephanie is not just a choice, but a necessity to forge a path through the relentless realities of low-wage work and the pursuit of mere existence in contemporary America. Part 1. A Dream Deferred. From aspiring writer to single motherhood. Imagine a young woman with aspirations as vast as the Montana sky she reads about in her favorite novels. Stephanie Land is that protagonist, enamored with words, dreaming of a writer's life. Her journey takes her from the Alaskan wilderness of her youth back to the ancestral lands of Washington state. Familiar as the landscape might have seemed, it echoed with the dissonance of dreams yet to be fulfilled and her burning desire to carve out her niche in the writer's haven of Missoula. In Port Townsend, Stephanie pieced together a living from the scraps of available work, a cafe here, a farmer's market there, each day a step toward her literary aspirations. That's where Jamie entered the stage, a kindred spirit adorned in the flair of Bukowski and Sartre, tentatively shaping his own flight path to Portland's artistic sanctuary. They were two sojourners, sharing a stopover, their mingled bookshelves a temporary testament to shared yet diverging destinies. Their humble trailer became a vessel of hope, a means to economize, aggregate their meager wages, and venture forth. It was an arrangement of convenience with an unspoken expiration. Their stories would fork, his pointing toward the evergreen embrace of Portland, hers to the inspiring openness of Montana. As the leaves of the calendar turned, fate scripted an unexpected chapter. Stephanie's 28th birthday heralded not just another year gone by, but the heralding of new life. Pregnancy announced itself, commandeering her carefully laid plans, surrendering her individual aspirations to the unforeseen demands of impending motherhood. Her revelation was as stirring as those she cherished in the books lining her walls. Only this narrative was deeply personal. Single motherhood loomed on the horizon, its magnitude casting a long shadow on the dream of a writer's life in Big Sky country. With this dramatic turn, the tale of Stephanie Land took a poignant detour, one fraught with the uncertainties and trials of a journey far removed from the written word into the heart of survival and the strength of the human spirit. Part 2. Choosing motherhood over dreams and facing the consequences. There comes a moment in life when one choice can define your entire trajectory. For Stephanie, the crossroads appeared at the confluence of motherhood and ambition. Tempted by the notion of discreetly severing the tie of pregnancy to chase her literary aspirations, she instead found herself bound to the growing life within, teetering on the edge of an abyss known as poverty. Jamie's vehement opposition to fatherhood, replete with fury and threats, was a harbinger of the shadow that would soon fall over Stephanie's life, a volatile and destructive relationship. Inner strength and ambition warred with a newfound maternal instinct, and it was this instinct that ultimately compelled her to shatter ambitions of academics and authorship on the rocks of reality. But the conceptual beauty of motherhood soon collided with its harsh practicalities. Jamie's continued abusiveness, punctuated by outbursts, was a steep price for the financial support that his job provided. The leap into single parenthood came when Stephanie's tolerance met its threshold against the backdrop of violence. The time had come to sever ties, to shield her daughter from the toxic fumes of a decaying partnership. As Stephanie sought refuge with her father and stepmother, the economic tremors of 2008's recession were felt beneath their feet. The family dynamic, already strained by fiscal scarcity, reached a breaking point when violence insidiously wormed its way through another relationship in Stephanie's life. Witnessing the aftermath of a domestic dispute, she shouldered a crushing sense of culpability. This catalyst thrust her from the shaky sanctuary of family into the cold embrace of a homeless shelter. In this stark reality, Stephanie's narrative converges with a broader, disheartening theme: the profound absence of family support. With child support barely tipping the scales at $275 a month and maternal care relegated to a distant continent, Stephanie's lifeline became a tangled web of public assistance, each thread as frail as it was essential. While the next chapter of this tale remains unwritten, what unfolds is Stephanie's unvarnished encounter with the social safety net, an apparatus designed for uplift but often relegating its inhabitants to a perpetual balancing act just inches from freefall. Part 3. The rigorous reality of life on government assistance. Imagine the depths of desperation that lead a mother to seek solace in the cold quarters of a homeless shelter, where even the stark walls seem to whisper of better days long vanished. For Stephanie, this was no fleeting visitation of misfortune, but a stage in her survival symphony, a journey through the gray, bureaucratic arteries of public assistance where hope and hardship intertwine. Transitional housing, while a reprieve from the homelessness abyss, bore its own brand of dreariness. be it the unkempt cabin floors that welcomed her, or the flimsy apartment walls that scarcely shielded her from quarrels. These accommodations sang a silent requiem for privacy and permanence. The clock ticked with an omnipresent deadline: 90 days here, 24 months there, a reminder that relief was transient, just a waypoint on the road to uncertainty. Stability came shackled with conditions, a gauntlet of policies, restrictions, and invasions of space that gnawed at her sense of dignity. The curfew might as well have been a tether, and the rule book a declaration of temporariness. This shelter is not a home. To secure these necessities, Stephanie navigated a convoluted labyrinth of acronyms and procedures where the assistance was as conditional as it was crucial. LAHEP proffered an education in energy thrift that bordered on insult, treating common sense as revelatory wisdom. The Section 8 and TIBRA programs whispered promises of a housing haven if, and only if, one could perform the Herculean task of convincing landlords, often laden with prejudices against the poor, to accept the government's coin, and therein lies a bitter irony. The very assistance meant to prevent drowning often required one to dive deeper into bureaucracy's chilly waters, to emerge grasping at the threads of a safety net woven with strings attached. As Stephanie persevered, the public eye, ever skeptical and tinged with societal stigmas, loomed over her, echoing an unspoken question that resonates through America's relationship with poverty. Are the impoverished recipients of mercy or mere objects of mistrust? Part 4. The Bitter Pill of Welfare: Stigma in America. Stephanie's journey through the world of government aid was like walking a precarious tightrope, with the safety net below woven from threads of public judgment and institutional mistrust. The assistance that offered her a chance at basic sustenance also served up a generous portion of indignity. The rules, reflecting a pitiless scrutiny of those in need, painted an image of welfare recipients as societal delinquents needing to be tamed by curfews and tested by surprise inspections. For Stephanie, the reality of poverty was beset not just with financial challenges but with a crushing narrative driven by society at large. Victims of poverty were cast as architects of their own misfortune, seen through a distorted lens of scorn that colored welfare recipients as idle addicts squandering their lives in vice. The stereotype was sharp and unyielding. These were the idle hands of America, living off the labor of the diligent. This cultural lens, fogged with prejudice, rendered invisible the myriad complexities that compel one into the arms of welfare. It disregarded the curveballs life could throw: a sudden pregnancy, an abusive partner, a limitation of opportunities, and instead propagated the myth that hard work alone could be the panacea for financial hardship. Stephanie learned of society's harsh judgments not in abstraction, but through personal encounters. A terse "You're welcome" from a friend and a stranger was steeped in sarcasm, echoing the widespread assumption that the aid she received was an unearned boon, subsidized by the begrudging taxpayer. The support that was her lifeline was, to others, a symbol of indulgence. Snide comments and mocking social media posts trivialized her struggle, framing her use of food stamps as a luxury rather than a necessity, chipping away at her dignity with each cruel jest. The painful dichotomy of her existence became clear. While government policies proffered with one hand assistance to survive, the other wielded the gavel of systemic humiliation. Society's response, too, was duality itself, viewing her as a beneficiary of generosity on one end, and on the other, as a burdensome parasite, reinforcing the sting of welfare's double-edged sword. It was in this relentless maelstrom of judgment and misunderstanding that Stephanie Land's demeanor was forged, one steeled with resilience against a cycle that seemed to punish as much as it aimed to pull up. Part 5. Welfare's Invisible Burden: The Weight of Shame. In the relentless current of social stigma, Stephanie found herself swept along, grasping onto welfare as her lifeline, an anchor of practicality rather than the blight of lethargy many presumed it to be. Far from enabling idleness, government assistance was the mainspring that propelled her back into the workforce, edging her one step closer towards regaining the autonomy that motherhood and poverty had compromised. Government programs provided the childcare support essential for Stephanie to re-enter the working world, this time donning the uniform of a maid, a role that, though often invisible, was undeniably integral to the households it benefited. Theoretically, this should have been a source of pride, a testament to her resolve to seize the reins of a life in flux. Reality, however, painted a grimmer story. Each trip to the grocery store compounded Stephanie with an emotional tax, a bag of shame, as burdensome as the essentials the food stamps secured. The societal gaze, heavy with judgment and dripping with scorn for welfare beneficiaries, had seeped into her consciousness. She was hounded by the specter of scrutiny's pervasive eye, a relentless overseer in her daily life. The burden manifested in unwelcome imaginings of watchful cameras poised to catch her in an act of indulgence, thus confirming the stereotypes that she fought to dispel. Even within the sanctuary of her home, relaxation seemed a luxury she wasn't entitled to, with leisure time shadowed by guilt. This continual wrestle with perception demanded of Stephanie a perpetual motion, the drive to disprove the myths of sloth that welfare recipients were branded with. Rather than a protective cocoon, welfare was akin to an arena where she felt compelled to justify her worthiness of help at every turn. Beyond the realm of perception lay a tangible grind. Stephanie's life as a maid and a sole caregiver constructed a schedule brimming with domestic responsibilities, leaving little space for reprieve. The indelible mark that austerity and societal judgment left on her psyche bore testimony to the daily battles waged by countless others in similar straits, a silent struggle against an undercurrent that threatened to swamp their dignity with each ripple of misconception. Part 6. The Hidden Tax of a Maid's Toil. Stephanie Land's job as a maid was anything but a refuge from the turbulence of her personal life. It was a grueling gauntlet that tested the limits of her stamina and spirit daily. Armed with cleaning supplies and an iron will, she embarked on solitary treks to the scattered homesteads that were her responsibility, each journey unpaid and unrelenting, with the meter of her gas gauge dipping as surely as her wages. The houses that awaited her were a mixed bag of opulence and neglect. Stephanie faced the Herculean chore of scouring away the visible signs of life, the mold that clung defiantly to ceilings, the dog hair that weaved itself into the carpet's fabric, and the human messes that were grim reminders of the intimate aspects of strangers' lives. Each abode was a world with unspoken stories lurking beneath each speck of dust and lurking in the linen's folds. Precision was paramount, enforced by the unyielding eye of the clock. Each house was a race, each minute overspent a black mark against her name, as the company demanded efficiency above all. Her task list was a demanding opus, fluffing and folding, shining and scrubbing, all executed with the exactness of a ritual, down to the origami-like precision demanded of toilet paper ends. Despite liberating homes from the day-to-day chaos of their inhabitants, the irony was not lost on Stephanie that this back-breaking labor left her mired in the muck of poverty. Her wages, meager as they were, shackled her to the relentless treadmill of minimum wage work, earnings oscillating between $800 to the higher ceilings of necessity. A tale of modern Sisyphean struggle, Stephanie's experience epitomized the unseen cost of cleaning, a job that society simultaneously deems essential yet undervalues. While her days were consumed by the work of bringing order to others' lives, her own remained in the grips of financial precarity, with the reward of her toil amounting to little more than sustained survival amidst the shadows of want. Part 7. The Double Shift. Endurance of a Maid and a Single Mother. Amid the vapors of disinfectants and the drone of ever-whirling washing machines, Stephanie's role as a maid was a symphony of physical strain. Her body, the unwitting instrument worn by the daily demands of her profession. Each house was a battleground, strewn with the detritus of daily living, each stain a challenge to her sinews and spirit. The silent aggressors of her occupation, the relentless fumes, the grime-laced air, became as much a part of her as the bruised knuckles and weary muscles that bore the brunt of her labor. The ceaseless consumption of ibuprofen became as routine as her cleaning rituals, a quiet testament to the relentless ache that was now her loyal companion. Amid this unyielding physical trial, there was no relief in the form of health care. Medicaid, the healthcare haven for the low-income American, remained ever out of reach for Stephanie. Her modest maid's earnings paradoxically too much for aid, and yet not enough for ease. The psychological burden was equally tasking. Far beyond the confines of the physically draining, her plight as an invisible laborer took its toll. Conduits of human intima, vomit, blood, excrement, greeted her daily, but rarely the acknowledgement of the hands that scrubbed them clean. This shroud of anonymity was a relentless echo of her isolation. Her toils as a maid were but one half of Stephanie's duality of labor. The other lived at home, in the ceaseless demands of single motherhood. A second shift followed the first, the roles of provider, nurser, teacher, and comforter merging in one indefatigable figure who faced the solitary task of sustaining not just a home, but an entire world for her daughter Mia. And yet, despite the reservoirs of strength Stephanie summoned, poverty, like a persistent shadow, imposed its will, clouding her measures of maternal adequacy. The consequences of an empty purse, a mold-afflicted apartment, an uninspiring daycare, were painful reminders of what she could not provide. But amid these torrents of stress and strain lay a bedrock of resilience, a will to persevere, drawn from the love for her child and the flickering flame of her own dreams. Part 8. Finding Value Beyond Wealth, Stephanie's Journey to Fulfillment. Navigating the twin challenges of motherhood and menial labor, Stephanie's life was a constant whirlwind of hard work and harder choices. However, amidst the hustling rhythm of her daily existence, she unearthed glimpses of contentment, lessons in value, and reassurance in the simplest of joys. In the solitude that accompanied single parenthood, Stephanie found solace, not in the void of a missing partner, but in the boundless realms afforded for her daughters and her own growth. The absence of another adult's demands opened a space for an unencumbered bond to blossom with Mia. The sweetness of spontaneous ice cream trips and moments of untamed laughter created a patchwork of memories and a foundation of companionship that filled the silent voids in her life. Stephanie's foray into the homes of the well-heeled clients offered a stark contrast to her own modest abode, initially sparking a twinge of envy. But as time unraveled, her envy gave way to insight. The ostensibly idyllic lives harbored in the expanse of their opulent hallways seemed flecked with an invisible yet palpable loneliness, hinted at by the trail of prescription bottles and the quiet segregation of living spaces. Through the lens of her clients' lives, Stephanie contemplated the nature of happiness and the paradoxes of prosperity. The societal symbols of success, the sprawling estates, the high-end gadgets, appeared as potential dividers rather than conduits of togetherness. The envisioned image of isolated indulgence in technology's glare offered her a new perspective on affluence, as a harbinger of emotional barrenness rather than bliss. As Stephanie soldiered on, the vision of her own American dream acquired a sharper focus, trimmed of material excess and rooted in the essence of human connection and belonging. The walls of her modest home resonated with warmth and closeness, a wealth that far exceeded the square footage of any mansion. Yet amidst this, one aspiration remained unfulfilled, the longing for a wider circle of kinship, for a nurturing community to envelop her small, tenacious family. In the pursuit of this final piece to complete her picture of happiness, Stephanie would eventually find her landscape broadening as she discovered avenues to a richer social fabric, the last chapter in her memoir, a testament to her indefatigable will and the collective strength that lies in community. Part 9. A Journey Fulfilled, Stephanie's Dreams Realized, in Missoula. The blueprints of Stephanie's dreams never faded. They simply lay dormant in the crucible of daily survival, awaiting the flames of opportunity to breathe life into them once more. For years the plains of Missoula called to her, a siren song muffled by the cacophony of financial uncertainty and misconceptions of legal restraints tethering her to Washington. But serendipity arrived in the guise of understanding advocates, grappling hooks of hope in her climb towards liberation. They shone a light on a path etched with possibility. Stephanie need only extend her hand towards it. Empowerment trickled down from their words, emboldening her to grasp at a scholarship designed for women like her, who had been to the brink and back, yet stood resolute in their defiance of domestic darkness. With newfound resolve and the economic means to match, the once elusive pilgrimage to Missoula became reality. Stepping foot in the town splashed in artistic expression and pulsating with a communal heartbeat, Stephanie felt the jigsaw pieces of her aspirations locking into place. Missoula embraced her with open arms and a kindred spirit that echoed her own. Tattooed skins, unbound femininity, and a collective untidiness that spoke of freedom and acceptance. This could be our home, thought Stephanie. Her dreams no longer a distant mirage but a tangible, vibrant reality before her. And with that realization, the decision was made. She and Mia would forge their new life in the embrace of this welcoming community. As they scaled the mountain that overlooked their newfound town, each step was a metaphorical triumph over the adversities that had shaped their past. Reaching the summit was a silent declaration. They had not just survived, they had prevailed. From this vantage of victory, Stephanie surveyed the campus of the University of Montana, where the nebulous corners of her future came into sharp focus. It was there, amidst the harmony of academia and creativity, that she would don the shining mantle of a graduand, her bachelor's degree in English and creative writing not merely a document, but a testament to her resilience and the unyielding power of deferred dreams finally embraced. Final summary. In her powerful narrative, Stephanie Land offers a compelling look at the reality of living on the edge of poverty. A young woman's life upended by an unforeseen pregnancy and turmoil from an abusive partnership, Stephanie's story is one of struggle and resilience in the face of immense adversity. Government assistance served as both a lifeline and a source of stigma, allowing her to barely keep afloat amidst America's turbulent welfare waters. Her job as a maid was more than a mere occupation. It was a relentless test of physical and psychological endurance. With every scrub and sweep, she contended with the harsh underbelly of labor and loneliness, yet somehow found the strength to keep moving toward a dream that seemed increasingly out of reach. Despite the grueling conditions and the demoralizing shadow of stigma, Stephanie gained invaluable insights into the true nature of wealth, the potency of human connection, and the meaning of home. Her journey is a testament to the undying human spirit, as she finally overcame daunting obstacles to secure a better life for herself and her daughter. In these blinks, we witness the power of determination, the warmth of motherhood, and the promise of a deferred dream finally coming to fruition in the embrace of a community that offered the sense of belonging she had long craved. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.